Hello, it's your friendly neighborhood Canadian, It's your friendly neighborhood Canadian, Reed, RVD the Dudar. I'm recording this at 3 a.m., late Tuesday, April 7th, or early Wednesday, April 8th, depending on how you look at it. I'm recording on my laptop camera because I'm stuck in a hotel in small town Alberta due to the whole beer virus thing because I picked the worst time in the world to go back and help my my ex job, my out of town job. Yeah, I picked the wrong time to do that because as I came here to help for a week in small town Lac La Biche before I started my brand new exciting Edmonton job I was very excited about, the world fell apart and has stopped and is on hold due to the beer virus that we're not allowed to talk about. So I'm recording this in a hotel room because my awesome new YouTube camera and microphone are obviously in my house in Edmonton in my bedroom. And I wasn't planning to be away from home for 25, 26 days. And I don't even know when I'm coming back. So I saw a movie tonight, finally, that had garnered much critical acclaim, Academy Award nominations, won a couple Academy Awards, was pretty well reviewed throughout the YouTube land through movie fans, wannabe movie reviewers, all these YouTube personalities that I enjoy, that I respect, because I am a fellow movie fan, movie lover, movie collector. I own over 10,000 movies, Blu-rays, 4K, DVD, VHS, lots of Hollywood movies, lots of professional wrestling, lots of adult educational material, WWE pay-per-views, the whole nine yards. I'm a huge movie fan, movie goer, movie fanatic. In my real life, in my many circles of friends, throughout the decades of life and jobs and relationships, I'm one of the people that is referred to as the movie guy. I'm one of those people, one of those friends who knows lots of things about movies, who's seen movies, who remembers useless facts about movies, who can remember cast and years of release and box office and awards and stuff like that. And people look to me sometimes for interesting takes because I am a huge movie fan. Doesn't mean I'm a movie critic. I'm just someone who loves movies. And when I see good ones, I talk about it. And when I see bad ones, I'm going to talk about it. This is RVD's Movie Reviews, Episode 1. We're making history on this YouTube amateur low-end channel on my laptop camera, which I apologize for because I didn't plan this. I finally saw, thanks to my friend and former podcast buddy Devin, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Finally watched it. Before I came here, when I had just gotten my new job in Edmonton, which I was looking forward to, and hopefully one day I can join part of that awesome team, I kept going to Walmart and I kept seeing Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, $20, Blu-ray DVD combo, and I was going to buy it. I was going to treat myself, even though I didn't have a lot of money, and I'm behind on some Blu-ray purchases. I haven't even bought Spider-Man Far From Home yet. I know, because I was living lazy and working part-time and trying to keep up on bills and important stuff. But I was going to treat myself to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood for $20 at Walmart. And I was going to do that. I didn't. And then finally it came out on Crave, and my friend has a Crave TV account. So I actually went to my old house that I lived in when I lived and worked here in Lac La Biche for 3 years. He was the guy who eventually replaced me. And he's one of the best people I know in Lac La Biche. He's a stand-up guy, one of my best friends. He's been very helpful. And keeping social distancing apart, which we did, we watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And I wanted to see this movie that so many people were talking about. Now, Quentin Tarantino is one of those filmmakers on the internet that lots of people claim to love. But honestly, Quentin Tarantino hasn't made a good movie since Kill Bill Volume 2, in my opinion. I think Quentin Tarantino's fan base is a little bit delusional because Quentin Tarantino pretty much makes the same movie over and over. And there's a couple themes that run through Quentin Tarantino movies that are undisputable. So don't fight me on this. It's just the truth. One, Quentin Tarantino is a racist. He hates black people and he uses the N-word in awful ways and he tries to disguise it as entertainment. But if you look and watch and pay attention, Quentin Tarantino is a poor writer and hates black people. That's just a fact. Two, Quentin Tarantino was stuck in Western mode. He keeps making movies Westerns, and it's been annoying. Three, Quentin Tarantino has a foot fetish, but for ugly feet, for dirty, ugly feet. And it's prolific in every movie he makes, and it's especially abundant in this movie. Listen, there's a foot fetish thing. It's an adult educational material. There are some beautiful women who look great in high heels, who have sexy, well manicured, pretty toes, pretty feet, foot fetish, whatever. You see more feet, dirty, ugly feet in Quentin Tarantino movies than you'd ever see in an adult film that featured foot fetish stuff. It's repulsive, disgusting, and the fact that Quentin Tarantino keeps showing you feet all the time, bare feet, dirty hippie feet, bare feet in cars, bare feet. Oh my God, it's ridiculous. So those are the three hallmarks of Quentin Tarantino films. Hates black people, tries to justify the word N-word, which is stupid. When you resort to that, you show not only your educational level, but your writing and intelligence level by resorting to cheap, vulgar words like that, swear words and stuff like that. Quentin Tarantino is overrated that way. Two, the Western thing. I'm glad this movie wasn't a Western, but there's lots of Western themes in it, which is funny. Three, he loves ugly feet, and it's gross because who goes to Quentin Tarantino movies to see bare feet, ugly feet, dirty feet? Anyway, those are his three trademarks. And yes, Quentin Tarantino only has three good films. Are you ready? Pulp Fiction, which now is very overrated. The more you watch Pulp Fiction, the more it ages and doesn't age well. His second is Jackie Brown. Jackie Brown is actually the best Quentin Tarantino film he's ever made. Third, Kill Bill Volume 2. Those are his three good movies, and that's it. And that's the real truth. And that's what you get from me, your friendly neighborhood Canadian. Because I'm not in Hollywood, I'm not a wannabe YouTube guy. I'm going to tell you like it is. Once Upon in Hollywood was horrible. It was so disappointing. And if you can tell me what really the plot, the story of this movie was, I'll send you $10 because some people were describing it as a hangout film, that these characters just kind of hang out and things happen. Well, there's many movies that have done this way better. 2 Days in the Valley is a prime example of a whole bunch of characters. The movie Go. There's lots of movies with an ensemble cast. Things happen. Crazy events. None of that happens. Wasn't the original hashtag, plotline, selling point of this movie was Quentin Tarantino is going to take his love of Hollywood and bring it back to the 60s, the end of the 60s, and bring us to a time period with the backstory of the Manson murders. Wasn't that supposed to be what Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was about? Because Charles Manson in this movie, you see him for 2 minutes and you wouldn't even think anything of it. Quentin Tarantino wastes so many opportunities on building a pretty interesting story. Like, I would love to see all the deleted scenes from this movie because this movie had no story. This movie had no plot. It was just scene after scene of characters and them filming stuff and old. It was a waste of time. You were wasting 2 hours and 42 minutes of your life watching Quentin Tarantino's movie. Now, yes, this movie was well made. Yes, this movie won an Oscar for Best Production Design. Maybe deserved. This movie looked good. The actors did a great job with the lines they were given. Leonardo DiCaprio was amazing, and I totally forgot he was nominated for Best Actor in a leading role. I got to tell Devin that. He was the best part of this movie. Um, he was amazing. Quentin Tarantino being nominated for Best Director, horrible, horrible. This movie being nominated for Best Picture of the Year, ridiculous, ridiculous. And this movie being nominated for Best Original Screenplay. What screenplay? What's the story? Seriously, don't be just an internet like Snyder Tard internet troll person. Think for a minute. Tell me what the story of this movie was, because it wasn't what we were promised. So, disappointing movie, waste of time movie, useless movie, nonsense movie. 3 out of 10 stars, barely. And there were two good scenes in this movie, two good scenes, and they were both kind of fighting action scenes. Um, Lots of ugly, gross bare feet, check. Lots of Western related stuff, check. Amazingly, Quentin Tarantino didn't show his hatred or his racism towards black people in this movie. Just to Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee. That epic martial artist, um, amazing physical specimen of a man with a chiseled body and thought-provoking ideas on life and wisdom and teaching. Yeah, Quentin Tarantino just made Bruce Lee a piece of garbage by having him lose a fight to a stuntman in this movie. Now I get why so many Asian people were pissed off with the portrayal of Bruce Lee in this movie, because Quentin Tarantino clearly has no respect for Bruce Lee, hates Asian people like he hates black people. It's fucking ridiculous. Maybe Quentin Tarantino should focus on just watching foot fetish porn. There's a couple websites Quentin Tarantino could go to. How about like I Love Feet or Lover Feet or something? So where do I attack this movie? I don't even know where to begin. Like, honestly, I'm recording this 3 in the morning because I'm shocked how disappointing, what a waste of time this movie was. Some of the dialogue in this movie was just unbelievably poor. Amazingly, in Quentin Tarantino movies, there's all this dialogue, people saying words and sentences that no one in the real world would ever say. And one or two movies of this, maybe 3 movies of this, Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, Jackie Brown, you're like, okay, that's not bad. Kill Bill, a little bit here and there. But then he just took it to another level with Django Unchained and Inglourious Bastards, The Hateful Eight. We're not even going to talk about Death Proof. Quentin Tarantino's overrated, big time. He has 3 good movies, and that's cool if you disagree. But being a fan of something sometimes means you're delusional to reality. And Quentin Tarantino is not a good filmmaker. And some of the directing, the shots in this film were very amateurish and like just lazy. He shouldn't have been nominated for an Oscar for Best Director in a year that had so many great directing performances. The Academy wasted a spot. So I'm just going to quickly talk about the real life Manson murders. This movie, I thought this movie was based on. Why even have the hippie Manson family at the Spawn Ranch? Why even have that in this movie if you're not going to have Charles Manson there? You're going to have Tex Watson there, but you're not going to have Charles Manson there. Charles Manson is only in the movie for 2 minutes. Really? And then in his alternate reality, Tex, who are they? I don't like to talk about. So it was Tex Watson, Susan Atkins, Linda Kasabian, and Patricia Klenwinkel were the people who committed the two horrible nights of murder, horrific murders on August 9th and August 10th, 1969. Charles Manson actually, I mean, he was there the second night, but he never physically killed. He didn't kill anybody. He just orchestrated the deaths. So that's why in the realm of true crime, serial killers, American justice, American crime story, mythology, the Manson murders, Charles Manson is a very interesting figure because he all these murders happened because he kind of put it in these people's brains. He either was a cult leader, brainwashed them, whatever. But people tragically died horrifically, including Sharon Tate, who was 8.5 months pregnant. Over the night, Sharon Tate was murdered. Jay Sebring, who was in the movie, played by Emil Hirsch. I miss Emil Hirsch. Wojciech Bukowski and Abigail Folger, heiress to the Folgers coffee fortune. Sharon Tate was obviously the wife of Roman Polanski. He was in Europe working on a movie. And then the next night they killed. Let me look. Anyway, in Quentin Tarantino's alternate timeline, spoiler review, I think they go to the wrong house. They go to Leo's house. Brad Pitt's there. He's stoned. He's high on acid. He saves the day. Him and Leo stop the killing. So the end of this movie is Leonardo DiCaprio spending the evening with Sharon Tate and her friends, because in this movie, Roman Polanski and Sharon Tate are the next door neighbors to Leonardo DiCaprio's character. And in real life, Charles Manson was looking for, I want to say, was it Dennis Wilson? He was looking for Dennis Wilson of the Beach Boys. I'm looking. So yeah, because Charles Manson wanted to be a songwriter. Well, he wanted to be a musician. Anyway, Quentin Tarantino rewrote Hollywood history. And it's interesting that when Hollywood movies change world life events, timelines, that kind of thing, if you do it to like a mass event, a big thing, it's an interesting, compelling story, interesting way to talk about something, to rewrite history. But when you do it on such a personal level with like a limited amount of people, or like you change the history, you try to like say, hey, actually these people weren't killed when in reality they were, I think it's disrespectful. I think it's in poor taste. And I can't believe more people weren't pissed off about that, because I found it disrespectful as someone who reads true crime books, who knows who John Douglas was long before Mindhunter was on Netflix, who's someone who is interested with FBI profiling, American justice, American crime stories, studying about serial killers and the methods to catch them and all that stuff. I just found the ending of this movie really insulting to the real life victims of this horrific, awful, horrible crime that happened that made worldwide history. So this wasn't the movie I expected. And yeah, it was a boring, nonsense movie. Complete waste of time. It made $142 million in North America, made $231 million in international box office for a total of $374 million. It won 2 Academy Awards. Best Production Design, which was interesting. They did spend a lot of money on that. And now to the next part of this review. Best Supporting Actor, Brad Pitt. I really wanted to believe that Brad Pitt gave an outstanding movie making, life changing performance in this movie. Because sometimes the Academy Awards, the Oscars, they do something. They give Oscars to actors in roles because they feel bad they never honored those actors before. They're called career Oscars. It's not the special Lifetime Achievement Award. It's Al Pacino winning Best Actor for Scent of a Woman. It's Denzel Washington winning Best Actor for Training Day. Those are career Oscars because the Academy doesn't always give the Academy Award to the person who deserves it because there's politics, there's some racism, there's the culture, the narrative, the virtue, virtual signaling, um, the environment of the time and the era. That is, Oscars are political sometimes. So sometimes the Oscars just, if the Academy Award just gave the Oscar to who deserved it every year, we wouldn't be ever having this discussion because people would know the Oscars were valid, were legitimate, and someone like Denzel Washington would have 3 or 4 Academy Awards. Not for Training Day, for Malcolm X, for The Hurricane, movies like that. So we get to Brad Pitt. And I wanted to believe that Brad Pitt had an amazing performance in this movie. And I'm a Brad Pitt fan. I love Brad Pitt. I loved him in Troy. I loved him in Moneyball. I loved him in 12 Monkeys, where he was nominated for Best Supporting Actor a long, long time ago. I love Brad Pitt in Seven. I love Legends of the Fall. There's lots of Brad Pitt movies I enjoy. Brad Pitt should not have won Best Supporting Actor for this movie. He shouldn't have even been nominated. Brad Pitt was nothing special in this movie, and the fact that he has an Oscar now for this role proves the Academy Awards and the Oscars, are still broken. Brad Pitt won a career Oscar for this performance. Now looking back, Anthony Hopkins should have won Best Supporting Actor this a couple months ago for The Two Popes. That's my opinion. That's my hot take. Brad Pitt didn't even deserve to be nominated. He wasn't the best part of this movie. Leonardo DiCaprio was. And the fact that Brad Pitt, the most compelling part of Brad Pitt in this movie was them glossing over the fact that his character maybe killed his wife. Why wasn't that brought up more? Why wasn't there more of a flashback? Why wasn't that more of a story element in this movie? Seeing Brad Pitt's past relationship with this woman he was married to that he might have murdered, that is alluded to a couple times in this movie, would have been a compelling story. Going over the years of friendship with him and Leonardo DiCaprio, maybe having a twist where when Brad Pitt goes to the Spawn Ranch, he actually meets Charlie. And then he remembers he sees Charlie on the street when he's on the roof fixing the antenna. He could be like, oh, you came to visit my neighbor. Quentin Tarantino could have spun a lot of different ways to make this movie more interesting, to have the Charles Manson character and the Manson murders, the actual backstory of this nonsense movie about a Hollywood actor we don't care about and a stuntman that we don't care about that beat Bruce Lee up in a pretend exhibition fight between two men. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is the most disappointing movie I've seen in a long time. It's one of the most overrated movies I've seen in a long time, and it's probably Quentin Tarantino's worst film. And this is from someone who views Quentin Tarantino as a barely average filmmaker because that's the realistic view on him. And this movie was just, I can't believe this movie got the acclaim, got as many Academy Award nominations, and has got the YouTube love from all these YouTube channels and personalities that I like and respect. Are they just like trying to kiss ass? I don't get it. This movie was horrible. 3 out of 10 stars. Don't waste your time. And Brad Pitt didn't deserve an Oscar for this and didn't even deserve to be nominated. Thanks for watching. Quentin Tarantino's a racist. Have a great day. I'm stuck in Alberta in this hotel. Cheers.